Hey, and welcome back to the Successful Marketing Summit. This is part 2 of my interview with Emelie Fågelstedt. So, Emelie, feel free to take it away and show the audience what you got to share today.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mats. Let's see now. So, as the first part was about, I will continue talking about Facebook groups and communities as a whole. So, let's see now, so I see myself as well. So, basically, communities. I myself am a digital strategist. I've been working in the field of social media for the past 9 years. And I've really come to follow up on what goes on in social media. And I remember, for instance, when Facebook first started becoming a thing you spoke about in Sweden, which was, I think it was around 2009 that a lot of individuals started to become members on Facebook. But it wasn't before maybe 2010 or 2011 that companies and brands also started catching on and thought that, hey, we should really be on Facebook. But what happened after a while is that when Facebook introduced Facebook advertising, the reach that a lot of brands had built up really, went down because you suddenly needed to pay to be part of this platform and to engage with your community that you had started creating. But on the plus side, I mean, Facebook pages are not the only way for companies to actually be a part of Facebook and to interact on the platform. You can actually also be part of Facebook groups and set a strategy for being there and being active. And I think that that is a very it might not be new, but it's definitely a strategy that I do think that a lot of companies have not really thought about. And where I think that there are a lot of benefits if done right to create really engaging communities that learn to love, like, represent, and also become ambassadors for your brand. So my take on this is that I run a group called Swedish Digital Nomads, or in Swedish it's Svenska Digitala Nomader, which is actually the biggest network for Swedish nomads or Swedish digital nomads in Sweden. And I've been running this group together with 2 other people for the past 2 years. And a lot of the insights that I'm going to share with you today are based on the actual experience of running this group, but also coming from me as someone who's been working in social media marketing for the past 9 years. So, communities, as I was saying, it's become really, really key in our community today to actually want to come together with other people that might share the same interests as us or who might want to discuss things together with us, that we find people that are like-minded that might not go to the same class as us or they might not be in the same workplace as us, but going online, we can actually find people in all different sorts of niche communities where we can discuss things. And looking at myself, I've been a freelancer for the past 9 years, which is, my whole working life, basically. And being a freelancer, you often find yourself working by yourself, working alone. And for me, being part of different Facebook groups has actually been kind of like getting colleagues that I only meet virtually. So I go online and I'm part of different groups that might be about other people working in social media. It might be about female entrepreneurs. It might be about just communications professionals. And I can go into these groups and somehow, get advice, discuss things, be inspired. And I think that, a lot of people today looking at Facebook groups really find a sense of belonging and a sense of community just by being active somewhere and by getting answers to your questions. And a lot of the groups that I'm part of are actually run by individuals, but it is also possible for companies to run their own groups. And that's what I'm going to talk about more now. So in the bigger sense of things, they say that there are over 100 million Facebook users belong to groups today. So you are able to reach a lot of people if you actually chose to engage in create a group. when you look at Sweden, I mean, this slide is in Swedish, but it's from a study called The Swedes and the Internet. And what it basically says is that groups today are the second most common activity that Swedish people engage in on Facebook. And looking back to when Facebook came to Sweden, when people started being active on Facebook around 2009, it was much, much, much more common to actually go in and write your own posts on your own timeline. But when you look at what people do on Facebook today, it's become a more of a private setting that, well, you see that the most common thing people do is actually use Facebook Messenger, which is engaging in one-on-one conversations or group conversations with a specific smaller group of people. But then to actually be part of these Facebook groups is the second most common thing that people do on Facebook. So it's quite apparent that if you want to be somewhere where people are actually engaged on the platforms, you are bound to be more successful if you're active in the groups than if you're just appearing in someone's timeline as a company page. And it was just a couple of weeks ago that Facebook had their F8 conference, which is their annual, developers conference. And Mark Zuckerberg spoke a lot about the fact that the future is private. That today, when you look at Facebook, it's not about sharing everything with everyone anymore. It's rather about finding your group of people and interacting with them. And the platform is also evolving in a way that they are, in different ways, prioritizing what's going on in groups as opposed to what's going on a company page. Because Facebook, of course, want people to stick around on the platform for longer. And by letting the groups be in focus when you go on your phone and you scroll and you come to the timeline, then people are bound to stay longer on the platform, which is what Facebook really wants for us. So just thinking of the actual fact that if you have a group, you're more likely to be prioritized than if you just have your Facebook page is a reason in itself to actually try and look at how you as a company can engage in a group. And Facebook has also quite recently, or last fall actually, they launched a program called the Community Leadership Circles, which is actually about bringing group admins together to create a positive change for local societies. There is a community leadership circle in Stockholm that I myself am a part of, and I've been to one of their meetups so far. And what Facebook says about the community leadership circles is that they have a goal to build stronger communities by supporting local leaders, both online and offline, because they want to empower us to create a better world, basically, where they see that people coming together today in Facebook groups really have a lot of great conversations. They have a lot of great engaging power. And if you work to actually have an engaging group, that actually means that you are also able to create change offline. So this is a really exciting, I think, initiative from Facebook to see that they recognize the power of their groups, both by now letting the algorithms favor them, but also by actually launching this program where they're bringing admins together to share real value with each other. And I do think that Facebook are right about this, because we are living in a networked society today, which is really powered by digitalization. We see so many people coming together and really creating great things just by connecting with each other. And when it comes to Facebook, of course, you can have your Facebook page as a company. But the thing is that on your Facebook page, you as a company are superior as opposed to your members. You are the only one that can really make, different posts on the page, and also you will be in focus as the company. Whereas in a group, you're rather opening up and creating an environment where people can come together and share discussions on different subjects. And I do think that people in general are more open to sharing and learning together than they are of just being fed information. And that's why, as a company, I do believe strongly that you can benefit a lot from also having a Facebook group, or just having a Facebook group if you don't have a Facebook page yet. Like I was mentioning before, I today am the admin of a Facebook group called Swedish Digital Nomads. It's basically started by me and my two colleagues, Christopher and Jasmine. And what we do is that we created a group that's all about remote work and creating a community for digital nomads. And the purpose of our group is to support each other as members by answering questions and giving advice when it comes to remote work and when it comes to remote working and the gig economy and so on. And we really want to inspire people and also to meet up in real life. So for us, even though we in the background, Svenska Nomader is also a company, but our group is not at all about selling anything to anyone. It's rather about becoming a platform where everyone that's interested in this way of living and working can come together and actually discuss these things. And because it's not about selling, it's rather about creating this community feel. It's become that Swedish Digital Nomads has become more appreciated as a group and also as a brand in general. And today, because we have this Facebook group, our company also gets approached by different companies and organizations, by government agencies, because they see that we have a true interest and insight into this group of people that want to work this way. And it's become like a powerful marketing tools for us, not because we're selling anything to our actual members, because our services for them and the time we put in is always free and something we do out of interest. But it's become a great like brand awareness tool for us when it comes to actually targeting other B2B collaborations with different companies and government agencies and organizations, because people see that we have this knowledge, and we wouldn't be in that position if it wasn't for the fact that we had this group in the background. But talking about then, how do you actually use Facebook groups for marketing if you are a brand? First of all, as I've been saying now for some time, it's important to remember that people do not want to be sold to. They actually rather want to be given some real value. So you can't have a group where you just share coupon codes or where you just go about talking about your own products. It's rather about finding a strategy for how you can share your insights, your knowledge, to actually get people to come together and maybe help each other and get a real value in their everyday lives. You can also think about the fact that today, if you have a Facebook page, as I was saying, you can actually connect that group to your Facebook page. So for us, for instance, this is from our Facebook page, but the first call to action we have is to visit our group if people want to know more about us. And then you can also go to groups on the Facebook page and go in and actually, become a part of it. Also, once you have a group, it's possible to engage in it both as yourself or as your page. And personally, I've found that when you engage in a group as yourself, but as a representative of your brand, you do get more value and a more personal connection to the members of a group than what you would do if you were just posting as your actual group or as your actual page. But talking about different steps to take, and I have 5 reasons why this is a good marketing strategy. The first step you need to take is to provide a meaningful purpose, which is again to say you can't just have the group to sell. You need to have a big reason as to why you started this group. If you're a fashion brand, for instance, maybe instead of creating a group that's about just your brand and why your clothing is the best, you could create a group that's focused on repurposing, fixing, or swapping clothes with other members. So you would position yourself as a very climate conscious brand, and you would be able to share insights on how to repurpose different clothes. You could get different members to share these things with each other. And then maybe to like really create this personal connection to your brand, you could also do clothes swapping events in your stores, or you could have different options for people to come in and recycle their clothing in store and get a discount on new clothing and so on. But that's one way of thinking about doing this more in a sense where you're providing value rather than you're selling something. Also, if you might be a tech B2B brand, having a group could be more about discussing the future of technology in, well, maybe a specific sector, but maybe also in general. So you get people to go in and have very insightful tech discussions about what's going on, about different news that are appearing from different companies. And you really create this forum where people want to be part and talk about these things. And then occasionally you might also invite people to events at your company. You might start up an FAQ with a tech expert from your company, or you might offer the possibility of product trials. But then you're positioning yourself more as an expert in the whole field of tech, and people would be more willing probably to be part of this group where they feel that they get a lot of insights from different experts than just to visit your company blog, for instance, where you would only be saying that you are the expert and you wouldn't get different perspectives on it. So those are two examples of what having a purposeful Facebook group could actually be about. My second tip is to create an engaging community where others feel comfortable in starting conversations. And doing this, I think it's important that when people post things and when people have questions, that you really go in and that you answer those questions, that you engage with the people that are actually active. And then you'll see with time that more and more people will actually start to interact with the content that you're sharing on your platform. And creating this engaging community, like I said, might take time, but once you succeed with it, it's really powerful because you'll have a group of people that trust your group and thus trust your brand, and those people will become your foremost brand ambassadors going forward. It's also important to create a more exclusive atmosphere. So it's not that everything you post in the group should be open to everyone. It should rather be that you have things in there that are exclusive to the members of the group. And when you start a Facebook group, you can decide what privacy setting to actually have. And my recommendation would be to have a closed or a secret group, because if it's public, anyone can find it and anyone can see what people post in it. And then you're kind of defeating the purpose of creating this exclusivity. So rather having a group where people get to apply to become members creates more of a sense of people wanting to know what goes on behind locked doors. Also, people might share or feel more comfortable sharing things when they know that only group members can see it and not anyone. I also think that a really great way of going about this is to create different offline and online events that are connected to your group, because in that sense, it's not only about discussing things on an online forum, it might also be about meeting people, even though that might be like a remote event you have where people might just log into Zoom and you have discussions, or that you actually come together and meet offline. I think is really a powerful way of making this community even stronger. And even though everyone might not show up, just having the feeling and the fact of there being different events going on would actually really strengthen what this group is all about. And if you create an event, I mean, it's just like doing it for a page, basically. You can create an event, talk about it, and then you can invite members to take part of it as well. So definitely look into hosting events if you're looking into hosting or having a group. And my last tip is to be personal. As I was saying in the beginning, in a group, you can engage both as yourself or as your brand page. And I do think that it is more powerful to engage as yourself, because that means that the audience and the group members, they get to know you and they get to feel that you as a person are actually helping them out. So to decide a few employees or colleagues that might want to be active in this group and to let them front your company in the group is a great way of actually creating a group of people that, well, the members will feel a personal connection to, as opposed to just being them talking with a brand that has no name and no face. So that's a really powerful thing with the groups, that you can become more personal in a way that you can't be on a Facebook page. just some quick things to think about as well is that it's important to have very clear rules for the group, because it's important to not like allow discrimination, to maybe not allow everyone to post anything, because a group can very quickly defeat its purpose if it just becomes a sales promotion channel for other people. So have group rules that you actually list in the description of your group so that people know what to expect from being part of it. And also, as I was saying, it's important to have active admins and also moderators, because if anyone just goes on posting and having discussions and no one is actually monitoring what's going on, that might mean that the discussions go a different way. You might have fights going on and so on. So it's important to have someone that's there and that actually sees over what goes on. It might also be an idea for you to review all the posts before they're actually approved, to really make sure that more salesy material or more discriminating material might not go through. And then also to remember that the Facebook groups, they do come with group insights, so you can access analytics and you can learn a lot from who are the most active, what kind of posts are the most active, what do people want to talk about and discuss, and that way you can get a great insight of your audience actually that you might be able to use in other marketing as well. And like I said before, remember that it does take time to actually build an active community. It's not something that you can do over one day. It's rather something that might be done over a couple of months or even a year. So if you decide to start a group, really put down the time and effort to create this engaging community, because that way you will really succeed in the long run. Even though it takes a while to get there, there is a lot of power in actually having these groups when they're actually out. And of course, if you feel that groups are interesting, but you don't feel like your brand is ready to start a group by themselves, it is also a possibility to engage in other groups. So what I would recommend anyone doing, regardless of if you want to start your own group or not, it's really to start identifying what groups are out there on Facebook today, where your target group is actually already active, and then to become part of those groups and to learn how they work, what people discuss, and maybe engage in conversations also as an individual. And if you do feel that a group is the perfect fit for you, then definitely reach out to the people that are the admins of that group and propose some kind of collaboration. It might be that you give the group members some kind of special offer. It might be that you arrange or you put together an event together with that group to actually promote your brand in it. But there are a lot of great ways for brands to actually engage with the communities that are already out there and that are already active. And I think that the same way a lot of people talk today about influencer marketing, I think that we should also be talking about Facebook group marketing, because I believe you can get a lot back from actually finding different ways to engage with and providing a real value for the people that are part of groups where you actually have target people that you want to reach in your other marketing as well. And like I said, communities are today the center of everything we do in society. So I think that starting to look into having a strategy for communities, and where today Facebook is actually personally, I believe the best place to be to go about starting these communities, should definitely be something that anyone in marketing today at least should be discussing and starting to consider whether or not it might be a good way for them moving forward. Thank you.
Awesome, Emelie. That was a very, very informative and very packed with good knowledge, I'd say.
I hope so.
Great presentation. Yeah. So thank you so much, Emelie, for taking part of this Successful Marketing Summit. I'm very honored, and I know I got a lot of information from both of our discussions, and I hope our audience did too. So for now, I say adieu and
Adieu.
speak to you in the future. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.